Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, it's your brother Bolo VNR, and I need to record this one because the information is extremely important. Now, big up to Colin Bell, the Colin Bell calling show. You understand? You know, so every Saturday, Portland Spice TV is the place to be at 9 a.m. I believe him starting in the morning. Yeah, man. So Colin Bell had a conversation with our shadow spokesperson on finance, Mr. Julian Robinson, and he mentioned some things that I think is important for us to note. And I have my thoughts and opinions on it. So let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to this.
They're holding that industry. I don't want to believe it. But Julian Robinson said something. And one of the reasons why I want to talk to him this morning, for those of you who have heard the ad, the new growth council put in place by this anti-oldness-led administration said the government has failed to spend the money budgeted for, the capital budget, meaning the money where they're supposed to spend for fix road, for put in proper infrastructure. They have not been able to spend it for the first 2 quarters of this year. Hence, we're going to talk to Julian Robinson. Listen to this clip.
Based on a release from the Independent Fiscal Commission, the government has only spent 20 of the $40 billion that was projected for the capital budget for the first quarter of this fiscal year. This represents a worrying trend where there is chronic underinvestment of our capital budget. For the last fiscal year, for 24-25, the government underspent the capital budget by 19 billion. For the previous fiscal year, for 23-24, it underspent the capital budget by 9 billion. Jamaica projects to have only 1% growth each year for the next 4 fiscal years. And the major reason, a big part of the reason for this, is that we cannot spend the capital budget which has been allocated in each budget cycle. The government needs to move with alacrity to address the bottlenecks and the problems that are preventing it from spending the capital budget. Whether these be procurement issues or public management investment issues, whatever they are, they must be addressed, or else we will not be able to move to 3, 4, 5% growth, which is necessary to lift the living standards of the Jamaican people and to generate the tax revenues to provide the social services that are necessary.
We have on the line opposition spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson. Julian, morning.
Morning to you, Shaka. Morning to your listeners.
Yes, man. So we heard you talking about the government unable to spend the capital budget. Explain to my listeners what it is you're really talking about as it relates to the capital budget. We're not taking it for granted that everybody understands.
I saw the opportunity to do something at a very low cost.
All right, so your capital budget is what is used to...
Explain to my listeners what it is you're really talking about as it relates to the capital budget. We're not taking it for granted that everybody understands.
All right, so your capital budget is what is used to build roads, schools, hospitals. So it works out to be, the total budget is about $1.3 trillion. Your capital budget is about $60 billion. Now, the reason that is important is Jamaica needs to move from having 1% growth to 3 and 4% growth. And if you're unable to spend what you have allocated in your capital budget, it is going to be very difficult to achieve any form of growth. So it's important, and this is not a new...
So, ladies and gentlemen, for my brothers and sisters out there that might not understand what the man is saying, I want you to think about this. So the capital budget is there to fix the roads. So in terms of, let's just look at farming. If the farmers don't have good roads, it is going to be more difficult to transport goods and services to one point A to the next point B. What that is going to do, time is money, So if these things are delayed, you're going to lose money. If it could be done swiftly because of the good roads, you will increase productivity. So the time that vehicle takes from Kingston or from Manchester to Kingston, because the roads are bad, it would take normally what? Say an hour, it's gonna now take 2 hours. Within that 1 hour period, that vehicle could have unloaded and was on its way back to source to do other things as well. So individually, the person that is moving the goods loses business and capital because the roads are not fixed. It takes more time to do the work. If they had good roads, it would take less time to do the work. Therefore, it would increase productivity. Next thing, the taxi men, same thing. Not saying them to drive fast on the road and go kill nobody picnic, but if time is also money for them, if the roads are fixed properly, they can increase their business of moving people from one place to the next on time. What does that also do? People that are going to work also benefit. You understand? So they can increase in their productivity as well. Reach work on time and also reach home faster so they can properly rest them body, because the road them not so bad and the man have to take 2 hours on a road where they really supposed to take 45 minutes. All of it, if the roads are not fixed, and you know we have a road crisis because the Prime Minister told us that. So what on earth could be the reason why Andrew Owen's government is underspending in the capital budget for what its purpose is intended? What are they doing wrong? They say they are managing things greatly and they are the best economic government to build the economy, but yet still after 10 years they have failed miserably to have any real growth. A stagnated economy. We are right there with Haiti. This is a blueprint of a crash. You understand? And I keep asking myself, are they doing this on purpose? Because I don't know. I don't think they're that incompetent. Because 1 + 1 = 2. I am not an economist, but you see how I just broke it down a while ago. For the mere man to understand on a micro level. And that's just the roads. There's other things as well that the capital budget that you just mentioned that you would use to build. That's how it helps the economy to grow. Roads are very important to grow in the economy. Goods transport from one place to the next faster. It's simple maths. But let's go back and let's continue.
That is important to hospitals.
Are really talking about as it relates to the capital budget. We're not taking it for granted that everybody understands.
All right, so your capital budget is what is used to build roads, schools, hospitals. So it works out to be, the total budget is about $1.3 trillion. Your capital budget is about $60 billion. Now, the reason that is important is Jamaica needs to move from having 1% growth to 3 and 4% growth. And if you're unable to spend what you have allocated in your capital budget, it is going to be very difficult to achieve any form of growth. So it's important, and this is not a new phenomenon. This has been happening for the last 3 fiscal years where the government is unable to spend the money. Now, the government claims it could be procurement issues, it could be the public investment management issues, but whatever it is, they have to resolve those issues so that at least you can spend the budget and that you can stimulate economic activity and growth. If you're spending the budget, money is going back into the economy, which will contribute to growth. And that is not taking place. And that is why we're seeing such anemic growth in the country over the last 10 years, because we can't even spend. Plus, there are other issues, but this is an issue that the government has control over, which is your own budget. And so you need to spend it. And they haven't been doing that.
So the government every year decides that we are going to spend this amount on for the capital budget to fix infrastructure, all of the things you mentioned. At the end of the year, I think at the end of last year, it was about $18 billion that they weren't able to spend.
19 billion that they didn't spend, which had to be reallocated. Right. And we are seeing 20 billion in the first quarter alone.
Of this year.
The first quarter, that has not been spent. Now, it don't mean that the money don't get spent. It means that the money get reallocated for something else. But really, you want the money to be spent for your capital projects because that is what generates the growth. And you need the growth in the economy.
What does that mean in a year when S&P said to the country that you are the only country that have this kind of rating that is not growing?
Well, when you look around in the region, and I use the Dominican Republic as an example, they are spending billions of US dollars. They are spending their budget. They actually gone to a supplementary budget to spend more capital. That is why they are experiencing 5-6% growth. And Jamaica is, apart from Haiti, we are the worst in the region in terms of our growth. Now, people might say, why is growth important? Growth is important because growth is what generates the economic activity that gives you the tax revenues that you need to grow the economy. And if
You know, it's just a cycle. When you increase productivity, thanks. When you increase productivity, or this stout, when you increase productivity, you obviously gonna collect more tax. So your budget gonna increase. So your budget allocation can do more for the same people that are increasing it, and that cycle continues. But they are underspending the capital budget, which is very concerning, based on what I'm understanding from Mr. Julian Robinson. Last year, the whole year, it was 20 billion, right, or 19, or 20 billion that they did not spend. But for the first quarter of this year, ladies and gentlemen, for the first quarter of this year, they underspent 19 billion was left back. Look at our roads alone. You are telling me that 19 billion couldn't be allocated in fixing roadways that is in desperate need of fixing? Huh? See? And then the laborers then come with lack of understanding at the comment section. I will not even answer this person. Moving on.
we might say, why is growth important? Growth is important because growth is what generates the economic activity that gives you the tax revenues that you need to grow the economy. And if you're not in a position to do that, then you're going to continue to struggle. And we have been struggling from the perspective of growth, which has been anemic for a long time, and it is something that needs to be addressed. And disappointed that we're going into, this is probably the fourth year, fiscal year, where you have an underspend of the capital budget.
And when you underspend that capital budget, Julian, you said the money may be allocated, but isn't it a fact that that money maybe just go over in the other budget?
There's something about beetroot that no one told you about. As someone who's studied natural remedies for years, I can tell you when it comes to circulation, most people...
Sorry, repeat that, Chaka.
No, you said that when you don't spend the capital budget, the money may be allocated to do something
It's
else.
reallocated to other things. It can go to paying wages and salaries. It can, government always has expenses. So if you don't, so the way the budget is set up, you have monies for wages and salaries. You have monies to pay debt. You have your capital budget, right? So if the money is not spent for capital, it ends up being used for other things. So it's not that the money goes to waste, but you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, when the people them say there's no money in the budget, you don't wonder why. When the people them say the country broke, you don't wonder why. Could it be that they are supplementing those monies going into paying bills? Right? And why would they need to do that if they were managing the economy right? And if they're doing that, they're still suffering us because it's going to be a perpetual cycle. It's like bad management of the money make you cannot pay your bills. So the overreach of the politicians' money, and Andrew owns 700 billion, a big 700 billion or 700 billion or 700 million. $700 million cabinet. Somebody give me the right figures on that, please. Is it 700 million or billion? I will say million. There's $700 million cabinet while giving the teacher them zero. I mean, could it be that, blessed child, big up, could it be that, the man them not managing the money good, brother? So them have to draw from here, son, a draw from there, so. Right? 700 million. Thank you, Akil. Right? Could it be? I'm just asking. Could it be? Let's continue.
You want it to be spent for capital so that you can generate the economic activity. You have monies for wages and salaries. You have monies to pay debt. You have your capital budget, right? So if the money is not spent for capital, it ends up being used for other things. So it's not that the money goes to waste, but you want it to be spent for capital so that you can generate the economic activity.
No, with Jamaica not growing, Julian, and our spending power is diminishing. The government says that hopefully by the next 5 years, minimum wage will be increased to $32,000. What does that say about the economy?
Well, you see, if you don't have growth, if people are not earning money, people can't afford to pay that kind of minimum wage. I mean, remember, the people who are paying minimum wage are the same people working. There are public servants, there are people in the private sector, right? I mean, when you work it out at $32,000 a week, they may be earning more money than the person who employs them. So unless you have growth.
Want to hear that? There's going to be instances, if it reaches $32,000 a week, there's going to be instances that the employee is making less money than the employer. I don't think y'all heard me though. You know what's going to happen? And it's happening already? Job cuts. People are going to lay off people because they cannot afford to pay them. Because they can't even afford to pay themselves. This is a recipe for absolute disaster, ladies and gentlemen. You hear me? Remember good. They don't know what they're doing.
Which triggers more economic activity and more money in people's pockets. People can't afford to pay the minimum wage. Now, of course, we need to increase the minimum wage. There's no question about that and move to a livable wage. But the reality is that you can only do it in a sustainable manner if you're having growth in the economy. And the one element that the government has control over is the capital budget. And for whatever reason, they don't have money to spend it. And it's just simply not good enough that they can't spend the capital budget.
So that is important to remember, ladies and gentlemen. It's still that way you're doing. It's important to know that it's not a problem raising the budget. But for the budget to raise, you need to raise the growth of the economy to sustain the raise of the budget. Because it's not the budget to sustain the raise of minimum wage. If you're gonna, the man is saying, listen, it is a fact. The people need a livable wage. Meaning, they militarily can pay them bills and, build themselves, put their money into something and grow. Jamaica said take and make fashion. The way how things are right now, they have eliminated the take and make fashion skill set that the people have. This government have been pressuring the poor. And it's just the truth. Alright? When you're going to remove people from Blue Lagoon, where are they going to get supplementary income from to feed themselves and their family? When you're going to remove the people from off the sea that are fishermen, how are they going to send their children to school and feed their family? Example, East Portland. You understand what I'm saying? And you have government representatives in government watching it happen and they never do anything about it and help those people. But you guys voted them back in. You guys voted them back in. Or they stole the election. I don't know. This is what is being said in the streets. Either way, them did it. Either way. And I'm telling you, you guys have seen nothing yet. Boy, man, listen.
Some people are saying it's incompetence because for it's not just 3 years. You mentioned 3 years that they have not spent it, but I'm telling you it's more than 3 years that they have not spent that capital
it's probably
budget.
About 3-4 years. I'm not saying it's incompetence. They have procurement problems. There's something called the public investment management system. All of those are factors which contribute to the underspending. But the bottom line is they need to be in a position where they can spend it.
But those are not new issues, Julian. If you are in government for 9 years.
These are issues we've been talking about for a very long time.
Right, and you're in government for 9 years, 10 years. Why haven't you fixed those issues so that you can spend the money?
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing that after so long we can't get the thing going. And remember, this is the first quarter of your fiscal year, and you can't spend $20 billion. So what the full fiscal year going to look like if you can't spend $20 billion?
If we don't,
we have to spend the money.
I'm not going to keep you long, Julian, but if we don't start economic growth by 3% and above within another 2 years, what is the forecast for the Jamaican economy?
So the Jamaican economy, we continue to pay down our debt, which is a good thing, but we're not going to. We need to be growing 3-4% per year. If you have growth, you have greater economic activity. Your tax revenues will be more buoyant, and that gives you the revenues to provide the social services that we need. Hospitals in a bad way. We have 2 hours of rain and the place flood out. Our drainage infrastructure needs to be dealt with. That is what the capital budget is used for, to deal with those issues, which can stimulate economic activity down the road. Dealing with the poor road network, addressing that. So, those are the reasons why you need to spend your capital budget.
The Bank of Jamaica did not decrease interest rate the other day as everybody was expecting, due to the fact that they are saying that the commercial banks are not cutting interest rate. What kind of impact that is going to have on the Jamaican economy?
That's not good. I mean, I was very surprised. I thought with the Fed had decreased their rate by 25 basis points. Inflation is within the target range that the BOJ has set. So I felt with those conditions in place that the government would have actually, BOJ would have brought down interest rates. So I was surprised.
You said that if the PNP had gotten into power, you would have dealt with the asset tax. One of the issues that the bank is saying that these are the reasons why we're not cutting the rate. What would you suggest to this government to do right now?
Well, remember, we made a commitment in our manifesto, and I said in the budget presentation that we would phase out asset tax over a 5-year period.
Yes.
We indicated each year we'd reduce it by 1/5. Because we realized it's a distortionary tax. It shouldn't be there in the first place. It was done by us at a time where the IMF said we had to run high primary surpluses to pay down our debt.
Yes.
But it was never meant to be a long-term tax. And I think by now the government must make an overture and start to bring it down so that you can give the banks a break and, allow them some more breathing space.
2 more questions I have for you, Julian. The issue with the Jamaican dollar, the Bank of Jamaica has intervened over 20.
Excuse me. Let me play that back.
Tax. It shouldn't be there in the first place. It was done by us at a time where the IMF said we had to run high primary surpluses to pay down our debt.
Yes.
But it was never meant to be a long-term tax. And I think by now the government must make an overture and start to bring it down.
So you hear the honesty from Julian Robinson. This particular tax was implemented by the PNP at a time when they got specific instructions from the IMF, the World Bank, I think is one of them. But it was never meant to run long term. So in the manifesto, he suggested that, woman, you cannot do that. Turn it down. Mommy, yeah, listen to me, turn it down. Listen. Turn it down, man. Just turn it down. I don't have a problem with you watching it, but turn it down. You don't want the background noise. Anyway, Pamela, pick up yourself. Now, what I'm saying is that that particular tax was not meant to run for a long period of time. You understand? So the suggestion that he made in the manifesto is to phase it out yearly. So it would be 1/5 and keep reducing it till it's actually gone. That's what he's saying. So he's taking responsibility for their administration being the one that implemented it and saying, listen, remove it. Phase it out. What can Anchona's government say after that? Oh, no, hypocrite, I want to put you in the tax. No. If they don't phase it out, it means then that they are the weapon that form against Jamaica. Because it's pressuring the people. And the man said it was not made to be used for a long period of time. We are in a better place where our debt to GDP is concerned. And our debt, because of the same laws that the PNP put in place, the legislation that was crafted under Portia Simpson Miller, with the help of Mark Olin at the time, that was a legislator. Seeing that algorithm of paying down the debt to GDP ratio already set. It doesn't matter who is in power, it will operate in the same manner because the BOJ, Bank of Jamaica, is actually one of the vanguards in making sure that that runs smoothly. I read the IMF papers on it, on this platform. You must watch all of my video them, you know. You must watch all of my video them. Yeah, man. I tell you no. You must watch all of my video them. So let's continue. Pick up Julian Roberts.
So that you can give the banks a break and, allow them some more breathing space.
2 more questions I have for you, Julian. The issue with the Jamaican dollar, the Bank of Jamaica has intervened over 20 times since the start of this year, spending millions of US dollars to defend the Jamaican dollar. What are your views on what is happening with the dollar?
I'm not going to complain about that. I mean, a central bank is there to control inflation. Inflation is directly related to the importation of items. So if your dollar devalues, you're going to have a problem with inflation.
Right.
So the central bank is doing the right thing in controlling it. The problem is that the fundamentals of the economy are under pressure, which is why the dollar is under pressure. And if you're not earning enough foreign exchange and you're spending more, we've always spent more than we've earned, then the dollar is always going to be under pressure, which is what it is on. So what you have to do is look at the industries that can generate foreign exchange: agriculture, manufacturing, tourism. You have to diversify tourism so that you have greater retention within the economy. Right now, too much of the money that is spent by visitors go right back out. So those are some of the things we need to do.
Want to hear that? Monica, what's up? The economy in terms of tourism. Most of the money that is earned in tourism goes to offshore accounts. It don't stay in Jamaica, it don't circulate. And then barely I pay the youth them that work in the tourism area any money anyway. So it's a double-edged sword of destruction towards us, the people. Those people are making massive amounts of money out of our landscape, our beauty, our shores, our culture. Right? And then some of these places, they don't even give the tip. The youth them can collect no tip in some of these hotels. You know? And that foreign exchange, that dollar, that US dollar spending, right? It helps the bank, them the money lead back to the bank, you know. The foreign exchange, you know. Right? And the Bank of Jamaica, it leads that there. All of that earning in the economy leads back there. So if more US dollars is being earned by Jamaicans in these different areas of tourism and whatnot, is the more US dollar being circulated in the country, which means there's more US dollar for them to use to actually pay their bills. When they don't have the US dollar and they now have to buy US dollar to pay some of the debt that they have to pay back in US dollars, it drains and strains the economy. It's that simple. We have to increase productivity and we have to get more money in the hands of the people in Jamaica, not just being flown out to offshore accounts when these big hotels earn their money. Yes? That's why you have to support local tourism. Get the people to the locals. Those US dollars being spent on the locals, it's going to boost the economy.
So that more money remains within Jamaica and you'll have less pressure on the dollar.
What responsibility does the Minister of Finance carries in all of this, Julian, and in addition, the Prime Minister?
Sorry, repeat that. What is the possibility of what?
What responsibility does the Minister of Finance carries with all that is happening, the not spending of the capital budget, the not exporting, because Statin says we are importing 4 times the amount that we are exporting.
You mean we're importing?
We are importing 4 times more than what we are exporting. What responsibility the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister carry in fixing all of these issues?
Well, I mean, it is their primary responsibility. And I mean, I'm hoping we'll hear something from them, you know. I mean, Parliament resumes next week, Tuesday. I mean, the minister should make a statement about the capital budget, the underspending, some of the other issues that are affecting the economy. This government has said it was going to put in place some ministry to deal with efficiency. We need to know what really is taking place so that we can address those issues. We can't continue like this. I mean, I'm not saying everything is bad. That continues to trend downward in a good way, but that alone is not going to be sustainable. You have to grow the economy so that you can improve the outcomes, the quality of life for the majority of Jamaican people. And even though unemployment is low, we are seeing that a lot of people are underemployed.
5%.
And a large number outside the workforce.
Yes.
And so we need to address those issues.
Julian, let me congratulate you on your victory in the just concluded general election. And thanks for talking to us, my brethren.
Yeah, man. Respect.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the General Colin Bell on Port and Spice TV. You understand? Make sure that you guys go over there and subscribe to the platform. And I want you guys to let it rip in the comment section. You understand? Let me know what you guys think about this discussion surrounding our economy and the capital budget, the lack of spending on the capital budget. Why you think that is happening? You know what I mean? Yeah, so let me know, guys. Like and share the video, alright? Yeah, that is it. See you on the next one.